All right, so
I have to give you a little bit of credit for this.
Yeah, we can overdub it later. Just
haven't had any crazy stories about. Oh wait, no, I do. I got robbed at gunpoint, mugged.
Checking for me, but I ain't checking for them. No.
It's sleazy real estate, guys. But
you. All right, so another episode of the EP podcast here. Back at you with another episode here with Arthur Hannick by my side. Arthur, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. It's Friday night. What's the date today? January 31st?
Last day in January in 2025.
Last day in January 31st. Last day in oh my God. Wow, I'm all over the place. Last day in January of this new year, and it feels like we've already been months into it with everything that has happened. Would you agree?
There's a lot that's happened this month.
Yeah. So we're going to be covering a lot about a specific topic today. We're essentially going to have a discourse here, right? Kind of like last episode, but in a way, the same way, but a little different. So we're going to be specifically diving into immigration. Last time we spoke about inauguration. Now it's immigration. Who knows what the hell is going to be next, right? Just because there's so much happening. I mean, if we wanted to cover everything that was happening, we would be running like a 3 to 5 hour podcast, because there's just no way that us alone would be able to cover everything that's happening. Because by the time we hit, from the moment we start recording to the moment we stop recording, it either becomes old news or there's 10 new things that happen. So
I thought we were covering immigration because you got so much feedback about it on social media.
Oh yeah, social media is just the nicest place you could ever go into. I mean, not even that kind of hospitality you don't even get at a 5-star restaurant. Not that I've ever been to one, but have I been to one?
No.
Before with a child count? It wasn't on my tag. Yeah. But before we do that, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. I mean, look at us. We're over here dressing up just for you guys. Arthur showed me up last time. I was like, in the polo? Oh, no. I was in a button-up. The same one, actually. And now I added a jacket, right? And then on top of that, I have my pin, which I actually haven't worn in a while, right? It's the American flag and the Ecuador flag. So I thought it would be fitting to wear in this episode. You don't have any of your old American flag pins?
I do.
There you go. You have to wear it again one of these days. But yeah, let's dive into it. So subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on that notification bells so we can keep diving into this. So I don't even know where to start with all of this, Arthur. I mean, let me tell you what I've been seeing, right? I was talking to you about this earlier over the phone, so for the viewers that don't know this, Arthur is not on social media. I mean, I'm beyond blessed at the fact that Arthur allows me the pleasure to have him publicly out there as much as he does. And now so many hours of him out there has, saying so many things and sharing so many personal little details about him. So thank you, Arthur, for allowing me that pleasure. And then, but the thing that I was thinking about is that, social media can consume us very, very fast. And it could damage us in a lot of ways. But at the same time, because, we're in the podcast here, we cover so many topics. What I learned to appreciate in being involved in social media as much as I am is that when headlines and seasons of life happen like this in the nation, you're able to see the people's immediate reaction, right? You're able to see how people react to any headline that comes out, like right away. Like the turnover time is crazy, right? I mean, you know this better than I do, but especially because I'm not from this country, but that might be a surprise to some of you. But, the only way you would really get your information, way back when of the day was either through your neighbors or the paper that would arrive at your front step, at some point in the morning or whatever the case was. Is that far from the truth?
Well, paper used to arrive twice a day if you go back far enough.
Really?
There's the morning news and the evening news.
Yeah, so that's not the case anymore, right? I mean, I'm sure the paper still goes around, but now
there's not a whole lot in the paper. It's pretty empty.
Yeah. So now it's just full on social media, and it's an abundance of information. It's not only hard to process, but I think the most hard thing to do is to fact check it, right? And that's what causes all the chaos, right? I'll be straight up. the media, mainstream media, in my opinion, I don't think is our friend in today's world. I think that the media today, their focus is how can we get our numbers up? How fast can we get the headlines out there? I have seen some hearings in the last couple of days, some behind the scenes shots of someone. I forget exactly what the thing was. I think it was someone at the RFK hearing, and that thing itself is so much to unpack. I haven't even watched the whole thing yet, but I heard it was crazy. I heard that someone had pre-edited an article before the hearing had even started that was already shining something on a bad light. I'm like, can you imagine that? Like, I just don't understand it. Why would you ever, premeditate chaos? Something that could cause chaos. So I don't think that the mainstream media is really thinking about us here. I think the mainstream media's job today is to increase their ratings, and the numbers are showing it. And I think that as a result, we're paying the bill. Through our relationships, through our sanity, through our mental health. And that's what's pissing me off. So yeah, in social media, I've been seeing recently that with the whole immigration thing is a whole lot of confusion, panic, worry, critiquing one another in a very, very negative light. And it's landing in some of my territory, right? It's landing in some of my direct messages. So it's just, I want to talk about it a little bit because I think this is an opportunity for people to know me better from that aspect, but also an opportunity to get your light of it, and also an opportunity to address some of the things that I've been seeing, and then maybe I can get your feedback a little bit. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
All right. I guess the biggest things, and I'm going off. There's no specific agenda here. We have specific notes, but if you know us, we try to prepare, but we're mostly off the cuff, and then we let conversation do its thing. And then we do we pull up whatever we can pull up while we can in our conversations. So, immigration. People, has been a big panic again. This is taking me back to 2018, right? When Trump was first running for office. That was 2018, correct? Or was it 2017?
He took office in 2017. He was running in 2016.
Sorry, yeah, 2016. Where my family was panicking about me not being a U.S. citizen yet. For those that don't know, I wasn't born in this country. I was born in Ecuador, and I came to the United States of America at 8 years old. How I got here was through the typical processing of immigration. You can, we go back and forth on how deep that is, but I came into this country with a green card, and then it took me a long time, but the fear of Trump's immigration initiatives back during when he was running in 2016 was that I could potentially be at risk of being deported. However, I was a permanent resident, so I was never at risk. And as a result, I saw a lot of my family panic. Mind you, at the time, I was only, I think I became a U.S. citizen in 2018. So, I mean, that puts me at what, like 18, 17, like around that age. But so even then, I would notice how my mom and dad would go back and forth with each other, and then just freak out, yo, we gotta get this thing going. We gotta get the ball rolling on this. And now that I'm 27, I've been a citizen now for almost 10 years. I realize, and I've educated myself in the space to some extent, because even though I've only been into this a little bit over a year, in politics in particular, you realize that there's so much information and you quickly are overwhelmed with it, that the media inducted a lot of fear into the people. The biggest one at the time was that they were aiming for illegal immigrants. Again, illegal immigrants. I wasn't one, and neither was my family. Now, I understand that that's not the case for everybody, but I feel like there's some things that need to be addressed with that aspect. So, I mean, Arthur, I don't know. Where should we take it from here? Where do you want to go from here with that specific topic? Let me get your end of it. What do you know that's going on with immigration right now?
Well, the original fear came from some statements that Trump said. Whether he was serious or not, sounds after history will tell he wasn't serious with them. But because in United States history, U.S. citizens that had green cards have been deported before.
Okay.
That happened back in the 40s. So historically, it has happened. So now you have people that are still alive to remember what that was like, and then you get that fear. However, that didn't happen in Trump's first presidency, but that is becoming a real fear in the second presidency based on how aggressive he's being towards removing.
So, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Towards removing the immigrants that are here. And in addition to that, based on what he's already done with the pardoning of the January 6th people, when there was talk about, well, if they committed serious crimes, they wouldn't be considered, and it just was blanket immunity for everybody. So could that be translated to immigration, where it's just blanket, hey, if you're not a citizen, let me show you the door.
Yeah. So let's talk about specifically what you said about the aggression behind it, right? It's scaring a lot of people because, Trump almost comes off as he's coming back for vengeance. And I get it. I could see the argument. I could see it. I could see the argument. I could see how the actions, I could see why people feel that way. But we can't let our emotions and our fear be overtaken by facts.
But he has signed executive orders saying no retaliation, and here he is turning around and...
No retaliation? What do you mean?
He signed executive orders with the information has to be handled correctly. Things can't be destroyed or shredded, or deleted, whatever the case was. I don't know what he was specifically targeting, because, the information that he has claimed has been destroyed wasn't. That's been declared a myth. He's saying all the investigations from the on the January 6th committee.
Yeah,
he said all that information was destroyed. But it's just he's flat out said about taking retaliation, and now he's trying. He signed executive orders to not take in place so retaliation wouldn't take place, and now he's...
Well, the first thing I will say is specific to immigration is that he was very clear during the race how aggressive he was going to be with immigration and getting illegal immigrants out of here. There's a lot of specifics to that. But this is not a shocker. This is not something he just randomly up and said the moment he was inaugurated. This didn't happen overnight. He was running on this, not only just this election, but also the one prior, right? So this is nothing new. So my biggest problem here is, and I'm for the people, right? I don't feel empathy for the people who have it great up in the higher offices, that have, a great life with a lot of good things going on for them, because you know what, at some point we challenge ourselves, and if we fail because of that, that's our own fault. But I feel for the people that are scared online and everything, but this is nothing new. So my first bone to pick with everybody is here, and I addressed this slightly on social media, was, where were you? Where were you during the run? Where were you during the run? What were you doing? Not you specifically.
No, but being an immigrant, you're not allowed to vote, so they couldn't do anything.
No, I'm talking about I'm not even just talking about immigrants. I'm talking about people that are citizens. I'm generally speaking here. And even if documented immigrants were not saying anything, why weren't they? But before that, where were all the citizens that are not born from this country, that all of a sudden are freaking out? Where were they last year? If this was going to be such a problem now, Trump blatantly out told you this is what's going to happen. He was going to be aggressive with immigration. My problem is that, why do we get insurance, Arthur? Tell me, why do we get insurance?
You get insurance to protect yourself in case something goes wrong. Insurance is the one thing that you pay money for that you hope you never use.
Exactly. But we're taking precaution in the event of something happening, right? We knew that Trump had already made it very clear that he was going to rerun for re-election. a while ago, right? And we were always well aware about his big mouth on how aggressive he wanted to be on immigration. So this is not news. And this is like the epitome of what they say in finance and stock trading is by the time you hear about it, by the time you see it on the papers, it's probably too late, right? The difference with that and politics is that while it might be overwhelming and it might be a lot of pressure, you can take actions. There's lawful processes in place. Now, whether they're effective or not, that's a different conversation, but that you can take to voice your concerns, whatever that might be, whether it be addressing someone in your state, someone in the nation, like in a higher office, is writing them a letter or whatever the case, whatever the process is, because there's a ton out there. So I'm not even going to bother listing any specific ones. We could list resources on a description of the video if need be. But they're there. Posting on social media, which seems ironic because right now what we're doing is recording an episode, but posting and freaking out on social media and then doing nothing about it, honestly, it seems a little hypocritical to me.
That's how it works in this country. So my philosophy has always been, if you have the ability to vote, if you're eligible to vote and you did not vote, then I don't want to hear your opinion on anything about politics because you failed to show up on the one day that mattered.
Yeah. And you've been very clear about that in our home team episode. Can you do me? Here's something I posted. Right? Can you do me a favor and pull up on Instagram, my personal Instagram? You could open the Instagram on the same browser that you have open, and then open my personal Instagram, and then find my post about the politics. You can pull it up here, and I can help you find it. On October 27th, 2023, I posted why we should be more attentive to our politics. So you want to, go to. And then I have on the bio where it says host, click my name. And then go down. We'll find it eventually. You'll know when you see it. I'll point it to you. Keep going. Right there. The middle one right there. Yep, that one. Open that one up. And Arthur, let's take a look at this and make sure you're focusing on the TV here. I posted, look at the date right there. On the bottom right, October 27, 2023. I wrote this. Now, more than ever, you need to familiarize yourself with politics and the reasons why. And then I went into all that stuff. So click on the next one and let's just skim through them real quick. Skim through the next one. Power and decision making. And there's a specific one I want to stop by. People, when you see this, you can feel free to go to my page and take a look at it in detail. But this one I specifically want to point out. Keep going, please. Keep going. There you go. Boom. This is the one I want to stop at. Public opinion and participation. The engagement of citizens in the political process, their expression of views through voting and civic activities, and their ability to influence policy decisions are vital for a functioning democracy and represent the voice of the people. It's a civic duty.
Yep.
It's a civic duty. And now I find it a little ironic that now people want to act like they're activists. So back then, when I would talk, I remember having specific conversations saying, Emilio, politics are stupid. Emilio, politics are a waste of time. Emilio, they're all shaking hands behind closed doors. Emilio, it only affects the rich and the greedy. But now every other minute I'm hearing people complain about the cost of living, the this, that, and the other. And look where we are.
It's all going to get worse.
So that's a whole nother thing. But
based on immigration, it's going to get
right,
worse.
Yeah. So it's that's where my frustration lies, Arthur, right? And now people are coming at me in my DMs, making it seem like I'm willing to get rid of my own people for some interests, some evil interests, right? Look, I'll be straight up honest with you. I've been seeing, I don't know how many illegal immigrants, undocumented, that have committed crimes, rape, that are Ecuadorian, which is where I was born, getting deported. You know what I say? Get them out. They're undocumented, illegal, and they committed crimes. Now, let's go to the next thing here. Can you please pull up USA.gov? Actually, go to my notes. You should have my notes open. And then if you go to the link that says, let's see here. Stay with me, Arthur. Yeah, the link that says usa.gov/deportation process. Well, scroll down. Well, geez, you didn't have to pull up my notes on the TV. No, go scroll the way down. You're putting up all my stuff here. And by the way, guys, here, it got pulled up, but just so you see this whole list. This is like 17 sources of information that I'm using. But yeah, it's the one that says USA.gov deportation process. Click on that. On the fourth to last bulletin. Yep. Okay, Arthur, let's take a look at this. All right. Mm-hmm. Stay with me here. All right. So this is USA.gov/deportation process. This is the official this is an official government website. This is not a third party. This is none of that. Let's read through this, Arthur. Stay with me. So it says here, understand the deportation process. Learn how the deportation process works and how to get help if you are facing deportation. Now, let's cut down to the U.S. may detain and deport non-citizens who participate in criminal acts, are a threat to public safety, and or violate their visa. Now, the other thing I want to note is, let's look at the bottom of the page. Scroll down a little bit, right there. On the Arthur, stay with me here. Last updated. It says September 27, 2024. Right? Now, I want you to open up something else here. Have you ever heard of the what's it called? Wayback Machine? Is that what it's called? Look up Wayback Machine. Yep. Now open up that first link. Now copy and paste the USA.gov link. Yep. Onto the Wayback Machine. Now, for those that don't know, the Wayback Machine is a page that allows you to, where they store snapshots of what pages used to look way back when. You can have fun with this and see this for other websites. So, I'm sorry, so you see the data that they have all the way right now up to only 2023. So click on 2023 and click on the oldest one that's available, May 16 of 2023. Arthur, I hope you can stay with me on topic when I pick your brain on this. All right. So again, this is a snapshot of what this page was, and what date again? It was May 15, 2023. The U.S. may detain and deport non-citizens who participate in criminal acts, are a threat to public safety, violate their visa. Go back to the one we have now. Nothing has changed.
Okay.
That has been the case as time shows. Now, the other thing I want to look at.
So what's the point you're trying
Here's where I'm getting at. Here's what I'm getting at. Go back to my notes. See if I can find this link here. Go to the one, let's see, on the first page of sources, the fifth to last one. The one that says econfact.org. Okay. Are you able to click on that image? Okay, open that in a new tab. Yep, perfect. So, to get you up to speed here for the viewer, we've now seen USA.gov and the grounds for deportation for an illegal immigrant here, whether it be expired visa, whether it be a criminal or convicted, did some sort of like criminal act, or is a potential threat, or whatever the 3 points were. Now, here's the other thing that people are freaking out over, right? Is how conservative or aggressive Trump is being towards the immigration motives and drive here. Now, I want you guys to take a look at this chart. Deportations from Interior and Border Enforcement. This starts from 2003 all the way to 2024, right? Since then, we've had 4 different administrations. The longest one since then has been Obama, right? Obama administration, where he served back to back, 2-term Obama here. So from 09 all the way to 16, you can clearly see it states that Obama had the most transportation. I believe the number is to be a little bit over 3 million during his time. And I believe during Trump's time, I think it was like 500 and something during his time. If you double, and I get, right, 503 million, well, Biden served 2 terms, right? It's not the same thing. If you double Trump's number during his administration, he still doesn't come to 3 times the number that Obama had during his administration. So I want to point that out. And the other thing I want to point that out here, last year, all those videos that we saw of the border being completely overwhelmed by the immigrants that completely crossed over and put all of those people in the Department of Homeland Security. Those are the people that work in the border, right? Department of Homeland Security, DHS. Yes. All those people, they're getting overwhelmed and swarmed in by all these immigrants that crossed over and put their lives at risk. That's why. And the example I always draw it back to is our home. Please pull up, again, we didn't close it out, right? The USA.gov website, right? Here's what I'm going to do. And Arthur, hear me out here. Let's replace the U.S. with your home, right? Let's replace the U.S. with your home, your personal home, where you sleep, you take care of yourself, and you live. Let's replace the U.S. with that. Tell me, do you want someone that participates in criminal acts in your home? Do you want someone that could potentially be a threat to the safety of the public in your home, your guests or your family, your sister, your brother, whoever it is? And tell me, do you ever have that guest that just completely overstays their welcome? Whether you're ready to knock out and just call it a night so you can move on with your day the next day, but they completely overstay and miss every cue? So, I mean, what else can I say? Another thing I want to pull up here. Let me see what's the best way I can pull this up. Let's see, because I was taking a look at this earlier. Give me 1 second here, guys. Bear with me. And then I'll take it over to you, Arthur. Just give me 1 second here. I don't want to mess up my train of thought. Let's see. Okay. Trying to figure out how I can pull this up. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll DM it to the podcast DM. So open up the podcast DM. You're about to get a DM from me, please. And I'll cut this on the episode so people aren't waiting as long. Here it is. All right, I'm going to DM it to the podcast now. Okay. All right. Please open that up, and Arthur, let's take a look at it. Now, it's on mute right now, so just click on mute real quick, please. And don't click play. I know. Arthur, I know. Trump has been saying a whole lot of outlandish shit. It's been scary. It's been a lot. Right? Now, I want us to look at this video. Let's play it. Make sure that the audio is coming up as it should. I don't see.
It's not going to be some instant amnesty. What's going to happen is you are going to pay a significant fine. You are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who is in Mexico City applying illegally. It's not something that is guaranteed or automatic. You've got to earn it. I think the American people, they appreciate and believe in immigration. But they can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it. So we've got to deal with that at the same time as we deal in a humane fashion with folks who have put down roots here, have become our neighbors, have become our friends. They may have children who are U.S. citizens. That's the kind of comprehensive approach that we have to take. All right? This is not going to be a free ride.
So let it play a little bit again, and then I'll tell you when to pause it.
It's not going to be some instant amnesty. What's going to happen is you are going to pay a significant fine. You are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who is in Mexico City applying legally. It's not something that is guaranteed or automatic.
All right, let's pause
Earn
it.
it.
Arthur, nothing he said there is bad.
No.
Nothing he said there is bad. Now, I promise you though,
But that
if Trump had said that, the media would have gone crazy. The media would have gone nuts. He has the numbers to back it. He got the chief of deportation nickname for a reason. And hey, and if those people really are the ones that got deported, the ones that are listed on the USA.gov website, great. We need to keep our home safe. And that's where I'm at with that. My next point is that, my final point with that, and we're going to dive into it a lot more, but is that my problem are not my Ecuadorian brothers, my Latin brothers, my Mexico brothers, my Puerto Rican brothers, my Colombian brothers. I don't have a problem with every single one of you. I want to see you guys excel and achieve and live your own version of the American dream, whatever it is here, because I know that I came here for that. My parents brought me here for that. My family brought me here for that. We came here for that. Half of my family still lives in Ecuador, but we have to do it the right way. And I know it's tough now, but we have to do it the right way. I was on those same shoes in 2017, and we acted on it, and we took care of it. We have to do it the right way. So the media is the problem. The media is scaring people. The media is fear-mongering people. The media is causing fear, chaos between relationships, lifelong relationships. People are destroying relationships over politics. And the truth is, a lot of these people are shaking hands behind closed doors. A lot of these things are a good amount of it. We can't be blind to the fact that a lot of these things, not a lot, but to some extent, some of these things could be orchestrated behind closed doors for their own gain, private gain. But bashing each other, belittling each other, insulting each other, name-calling each other is not the way. It's not the way. So that's where I'm at. You think I'm a Latino for Trump? No, I'm a Latino for America. I was born in Ecuador. I came to this country, and I've gotten to do what I've gotten to do because I worked my ass off. My family has taken care for me, and now I'm doing what I can to take care of my family. You have the opportunities. And we'll go into this a little bit more, but Arthur, I want you to just dive in here a little bit. I've covered a lot.
Okay. So can we?
And by the way, this video here, this wasn't while he was running.
No.
This was while he was already president.
That would have been in 2014-ish when
he was already president. So he wasn't trying to sell a narrative.
Introduced this new plan.
Yeah, so he wasn't trying to sell a narrative or anything. He was already president.
The chart that we had up from Emilio's notes with yep, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can see that that Obama came into office without this immigration policy. So he said he was going to work with the people that were here, which is why it's gone down under his administration, because he created a program that undocumented illegal immigrants could become a citizen. Because right now, part of the problem is those that are undocumented, if they started at the border and were caught and were given go through the due processing, had to agree to a PTA, a promise to appear, and never showed up for that court date.
Doesn't it have to do with the whole catch and release thing?
That's what they're calling catch and release, that they catch somebody, they process them, and then you're supposed to come back to the court date.
And a lot of people don't.
And a lot of people don't because the court dates are so far out. But here's the problem. Once you were told to show up for a court date and you do not show up, anything you do, if they find out that you did not show up for your court date, is grounds for deportation.
Yeah. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Buddy,
but here's the problem at the border. Historically, it didn't take this long. They are backed up months because they don't have enough people and personnel. And when the border security is asking for funding, they haven't been asking for funding for a wall. they have been asking for funding for personnel,
Mhm.
as well as they've been asking for the system that they have to be revamped. They said the system is broken and there's too many bottlenecks and it's taking too long, and they're trying to get the system fixed. That's
Yeah. What I want to be very clear on, and you and I could clear this up because I want people to get your position on this. Are you anti-immigration?
I'm not anti-immigration.
I would be a hypocrite if I said I was anti-immigration. So by default, I cannot be, even if I wanted to be. And I am not anti-immigration. We thrive on immigration, by the way. And we've talked about this before. We have a huge vetting problem. So that's where our biggest problem lies. So I see you have stuff pulled up. What specifically do you want to go into on that?
Okay, so just want to make sure we're clear on, immigrants that commit crimes. It's a really small number. So,
Immigrants that commit crime.
Immigrants that commit crime. It's
Are we talking about illegal immigrants specifically?
yes, it'd be illegal
And hey,
immigrants. That's a population of 11 million.
we should also note the fact that a lot of this information can be really confusing when trying to look it up and understand it. The terminology, it's like you're borderline playing lawyer here. If it's not written if there's nothing saying specifically what it means, it could be interpreted in so many different ways. So that in itself is very, very confusing, and the reason why a lot of chaos and confusion and conflicts happen. So you say an immigrant? Did you say specifically illegal?
Yeah. So illegal immigrants that committed crime. So we have about 11 million in the country. In 24, the number of crimes was roughly 17,000. Now, if we look at that 17,000 and right off the bat, I will automatically take out the 11,000 that their crime was illegal re-entry into the country. So this did not affect anybody except they tried to come back into the country after they'd already been here and left.
I'm curious if we could pull that up. If you could, what's the headline to this?
This is, let me go back to what criminal non-citizen statistics, and it's from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Criminal non-citizen statistics?
Yep.
And they came from where again?
U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Okay. Which one? CBP. Hold on, let him tell you.
The following is the summary. That first one. Yep.
All right, so walk us through this.
Okay.
Let's make sure we have the camera.
So if we can scroll
screen.
down a little bit. Okay. So in 2024, 11 million illegal, undocumented immigrants in this country.
And this is by the millions?
Nope. This is number.
Okay, what am I looking at here? Assault, battery, domestic violence for a year?
That's 1,000.
Okay, yep.
1,000 people out of 11 million. So total was 17,000 crimes.
Total was 17,000 crimes. Where you get? Okay, I see it. Okay.
So right off the bat, I immediately look at what our list is, and I see that one is illegal reentry. And that is about 11,000.
Wow.
So let's take that 11,000 out of that 17,000 number. So now we are down to 6,000. So we're talking 6,000 out of 11 million. We are talking such a small fraction of a percent that, to put it in perspective here, the likelihood of being in a plane crash is higher than being one of the people that are being affected by this crime. So
you're saying that specifically with illegal reentry, entry and reentry, and assault, battery, and domestic violence.
Well, I'm not taking that out, the assault, battery, and domestic violence. I'm taking out the illegal reentry because that did not affect anybody except them. So they didn't hurt or harm a single person.
Okay.
So if you take that out of it, that's 11,000. That brings it down to 6,000 crimes.
Yeah. So what are you getting at?
So 6,000 out of 11 million. So it would just to put it.
Where is the million?
It's not there. If you Google how many undocumented people there are in the United States, it's roughly 11 million.
Okay.
They don't have exact numbers, but everything I've found, it keeps being getting pretty damn close to that 11 million number. So percentage wise,
And let's be clear on that, because we're saying documented and undocumented. We had the conversation off camera. Again, walk us through the whole documented and undocumented thing.
I mean, undocumented. You came into the country and you do not have permission to be here.
Right.
Versus having a green card or a visa or some sort of documentation from the government allowing you to be here.
Right.
So this is specifically for people that are undocumented, that do not have permission to be here. And there's all of that hype, and in the elections about all of these illegal immigrants that are causing all of these crimes. I mean, when you look at the numbers, there aren't all of these crimes. There are crimes. It's just really, really low.
Okay.
So.
Okay. No, that's great. I will never argue numbers. And these are the numbers. This is cbp.gov. So this is a government website.
This is a government website.
So CBP stands for what again? CBP. Let's scroll up. It might be
something about CBP. Customs and Border Protection.
Yeah, Customs and Border Protection. I would never argue the government, the numbers. Now I wonder, it is what's being on the headlines. It is. So we take what was the number, 6,000 out of 11 million. What's that? 0.000? Like,
it's for the hell no.
Right. But I bring it back to the media, man. I bring it back to the media. If it's that low of a number, why is it that the media is causing this much havoc over it? Especially since the grounds have been changed. The grounds of deportations have not changed.
So if I do that into percentage, that's still that's less than that's about. I mean, that's less than that's 0.5%.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's this is not huge. And then you have to understand, there's still that's all 6,000 of those crimes. Now, going into it, some of them are more serious in nature than others. So they're not all serious crimes either. So again, they're all six. That 6,000 is not all violent crimes. They are crimes, period. So
so
when we get down to it, it's really a small number, and it's being blown up to be so disproportionate of what it actually is. But the other thing with this whole immigration thing is, because of the promise to appear and not appearing, there's the fear that if you show up and try to make things right, that you can get arrested on the spot, which you can, and then be deported. So the fear is, why make it public? There needs to be.
Wait. Why would there be fear to show up on a spot?
If you say you want people to, you've been in the country, you've put down roots, you came here undocumented, illegal, you had your promise to appear and you didn't appear 10, 15 years later, there needs to be a way to allow you to go through the citizenship process. And I'm not saying that you get to jump the line from the people that are doing it correctly and promise to appear.
That's two different processes.
Correct.
Seeking asylum and going through the typical regular, the process I came into the United States are two entirely separate systems.
Correct.
Right. But
what I'm trying to get is, people are afraid to even start the process because once they raise their hand and say, "Hey, I'm here and I'm undocumented," they're afraid that that's going to put a mark on them, that I know exactly where to go to pick you up and take you out of here.
Yeah.
There needs to be.
There's two types of asylum. There's affirmative, and then there's defensive, right? And I think the difference between the two is that.
But that's coming in through the border, and that's going through the process.
Right.
These people are already in the country.
Which would be defensive, I believe. I believe it would be defensive. Let's see. You know what? Let's not. What I'm
trying to get to is that we need to take the fact that you are in the country undocumented, and just, if you come and make yourself known, we need to say that, okay, we're not going to come after you for stating that you raised your hand and said that you were here and you want to start the process. I'm not saying that the process goes as fast as the people that went through the border correctly and got their green cards. And as Obama was saying, pay a fine. We're going to charge you. Yes, we're asking you to raise your hand, but when you raise your hand, we're not deporting you. We're going to fine you, and then we're going to begin the process. Why are you... Let's do that. Let's...
And here's the thing, right? And then there's another thing with that. If the judge decides no, for whatever reason, you can reapply.
Correct.
And there's something called a de novo process, which essentially just means starting over. Essentially just means starting over, not taking anything else in consideration that didn't let you not get approved before. Again, like you're starting from scratch, essentially. So the process is there. The process is there.
But what we have to do is allow people to raise their hands without fear of being deported because they raised their hand.
So then that comes back to an education problem. And I don't mean education by like associate's bachelor or anything like that. I mean like they're uninformed. They're uninformed. They're not filled in the matter. But here's the thing, Arthur, right? Now I was having a conversation with you about this the other day. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website. That's available in English. It's available in Spanish, and I believe it's available in more languages. It's all there. It's all there. It's all there. Like I understand. Like right now, my dad doesn't speak fluent English. My mom doesn't speak fluent English. So when we're in settings or stuff like that, I have to translate for them.
Right.
In this case here, it's available in both languages. So we have to start looking at, we've had this conversation before in so many different kind of topics and matter and subjects. At what point do we start taking accountability?
Again, it comes down to, we have to take that fear away of if I raise my hand and say, hey, I came in here, I'm undocumented. Take that fear away. Let them be able to raise their hand and then go through the process. But that's where the fear is that it's just better to stay under the radar, not let anyone know. Because right now the system does reward them. You come into this country undocumented, with a spouse, without a spouse. Let's say with a spouse. So you and your spouse come into this country undocumented, and you have kids. Your kids are automatically citizens. And we're saying that their kids are automatically citizen based on the 14th Amendment, where anybody who is born in this country is automatically American citizen. But can we look at why the 14th Amendment was created?
Okay.
It wasn't created for people coming into this country to illegally and having children. It was specifically created in regards to the end of slavery. Because at the time, if you were a slave, you were not considered an American citizen. You could have been living in this country. You could have had generations of children, a family in this country, but because you were a slave in this country, being a slave automatically meant you were not a citizen. So the 14th Amendment came about at the end of slavery to state that all the slaves were actually citizens and were afforded all of the same rights as citizens. It was not this loophole about, if I break the law and if I'm pregnant and come into this country and give birth on U.S. soil, even though I came over the line illegally, my kid is automatically a citizen.
Right.
And I don't believe it's as big as it used to be, but the big thing in China was there was the law about only having one child.
They were trying to control the population for a while.
So to get around that, the wealthy Chinese citizens, and this was the in thing to do, would fly to the United States right there at that last bit, that around the 6th, 7th month, right before you can no longer fly, with permission. They'd come here on a vacation visa, and they could be here for 3 months, and they'd come into the United States, they would give birth, and then afterwards they would travel home. But they came in legally, they had a child is automatically a United States citizen because they came in on a vacation visa and then they left. So now they're back in China, and China asked them about their children, and they're like, well, we have one that's born in the United States and one that's born in China, and China's rule was you may only have one Chinese child. So that's how they were able to have multiple children.
Yeah.
But the other big thing was, having the child in the United States gave them a leg up when they applied to
Right.
universities.
It's a double win.
Right.
It's a double win. You have one that's a U.S. citizen now, and then you get them to bring back
Is
China.
that the intent of the birthright thing? No, but they didn't. It wasn't illegal. It was not illegal.
You
They went
cannot
back
take
to,
it in consideration. We know 100% that there's people out there that take advantage of it.
and I'm fine. I'm fine with that
Yeah.
because they came into the country, and here's the whole thing: they had a system set up that it wasn't like they just showed up.
Yeah.
There were specific places that they were able to correspond with from China, go to these homes. They would have the baby, and then part of this was the baby is taken care of for the first couple of weeks. So the couple would go out shopping. They would go spend money in the country. They'd go buy designer things. And then at the end of this 3 months, they neither would work. So no working papers are involved. It's literally a vacation. I mean, if you want to call childbirth a vacation, but I mean,
Yeah.
they came into the country with the intent of coming into the country,
Yeah.
going out to restaurants, shopping, spending money, boosting the American economy.
Yeah.
And at the end of 90 days, back on an airplane,
Boom.
back to their country.
Immigration is a good thing, man.
So, yeah, that's a loophole, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm really against this whole idea about, well, if I break the law and then have a child in the United States, I'm rewarded because my kid is automatically a citizen. No, your kid shouldn't get that. And that's where we have we have to amend the Constitution to specifically state that, because right now, as the Constitution states, born on U.S. soil, you're automatically a citizen.
Well, do you know that Trump filed a motion to appeal that, to change that?
But you're changing the Constitution. This is not.
No, I don't know if it's the Constitution, but well, I guess at that point it is. But
14th Amendment is the
he's
Constitution.
I forget what the exact thing is, but look up on Google. Trump tries to take away birthright. What is it again?
Birthright citizenship.
Birthright citizenship.
Yes.
Yeah, this just happened a couple days ago. Let's see what here. That's the Christian Science Monitor. That doesn't sound like it. You know what? Let's go to AP. AP, I know a specific aspect to them leans on the left, but there's a specific aspect to them that also leans on the middle.
They stand on the facts.
Yeah. Well, they have a left and then a middle. Typically the opinion, because a lot of these publications, they have an opinion aspect to it, and that's when it goes either left or right. All right, so it says citizenship would overturn more than, what's the headline again? Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship would overturn more than a century of precedent. Let's see what the main thing here is. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I understand he's trying to overturn it.
No, but did you know that was going on? I wasn't sure if you knew or not. Let's see. President Donald Trump has said since his first administration that he wants to end birthright citizenship. I did not know that since his first administration. A constitutional right for so it is messing with the Constitution for everybody born in the United States. So, yeah, that's. I mean.
The root of the problem is
you framed it very, very good, and you saved me a lot of thinking because I understand. Because I think to myself, okay, then, then I wasn't born here, right? I wasn't born here, so what does that mean for my kid when my kid is born here, right? Does that mean that they don't get to be a citizen just because I wasn't born here? So that's
no, you did it correctly. You came in via a green card. You became a citizen, and by definition of you having a child in this country, you are a citizen.
Oh, okay.
They become a citizen.
So because so the problem is that people who aren't citizens are bringing here, having a kid here, and then they get a kid who has citizenship while they're not a citizen.
Correct.
I actually know someone who did that. That reminds me.
And that term is anchor baby.
Anchor baby. Okay, interesting. You know what? I don't know how I feel about that. I would have to do a little bit more opinion searching, see what the people are saying about it. The way you phrased it has me leaning towards it makes sense to not have it. But
let's put it this way.
Yeah.
If you go and rob a bank and get $1 million, and now you're being accused of robbing the bank, and you need to hire an attorney, you can't use the $1 million you just stole to hire the attorney.
Yeah.
That's evidence.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Yeah.
I can't benefit from my bad action. Why?
Right.
Coming into the country illegally and not following the process. And I understand there's a lot involved in it, but you came into this country and you had a baby, but neither of the parents is an American citizen, then I'm sorry, the baby shouldn't be either.
Yeah.
Because what
Yeah.
you did was wrong. So why should you be rewarded?
It always comes out to the incentives. I mean, when I saw all those people coming into New York, and the hotels were being taken up, and then they were being awarded some sort of credit card with money in it, and up until whenever the court date was, just to never show up.
Correct. So what would be the solution to that? Let's add more people to speed up the court dates, so we don't have to put them up in hotels and provide them with food.
Yeah.
Let's get the court dates happening. That's happening pretty next day or two.
Yeah. I remember seeing that there was these guys that got caught in New York City that they essentially started an officer tried to detain them or whatever the case was, and then a group of them just started jumping, like hurting the police officers, and then they arrested them, but then they let them go because they weren't able to do anything to them.
Right.
Which is a huge problem. It's a huge problem. I believe the guy who burned that lady in the train station, do you remember hearing about that? I think it was like after Thanksgiving, where the one guy, I think he was from, I don't know if he was from El Salvador or wherever it was, where he had burned a lady alive in the MTA over in New York, and he turned out to be an illegal immigrant. I mean, these are the things that happen when you incentivize unappealing behavior. So I mean, here's the thing too, right? I don't blame people for wanting to come in here. We're not perfect. We're not 100% there all the time. But hey, the world is always watching everything we do. And that's for a reason. So, where are we with time here? That's where I'm at with it, Arthur. It's this to me, especially from your side, has been very educational to me, and I'm not closing it out just yet. But it's just my biggest, my biggest thing that prompted this whole episode to even happen to begin with is just the reaction of the people, right? There's a difference between, in theory, we're all the people, but there's a difference between the people in office, the one putting these things in writing and passing them through, going through our process. And then there's a difference between the people that are just, in this country, doing their thing, going about their day-to-days, hard-working lives, whatever it is. Just the damaging effects of what I was telling you the other day about how I cannot open my feed and not immediately be met with chaos. Like the whole thing with the helicopter. And I know there's so many angles to that with Trump and whatever the case is. My problem with that was that people's knee-jerk reaction was to make it political.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand the things that Trump said, but even before then, even before Trump made his first announcement on Truth, and even on his briefing, people were immediately. You looked at the comment section of these things. This person's fault. This person's fault. How about? Prayers. To the families hurt and the 67 lives that were lost. Whatever happened to that? Whatever the hell happened to that? And then, I got a bone to pick with this guy, man. The guy that we pulled up last time, what? I'm going to call him out. Just because. Let's see here. I'm going to DM it to the podcast DM, okay? Let's see here. And I hope he didn't delete my comment at this point because no one ever, he didn't respond and no one in his community responded. So I'm going to DM it to the podcast page now. And then, so let me pause the video, right? So this is Harry Sisson. We saw him last time on the last home team episode with the whole 2 gender thing. Moving past from that, right? On the accident that happened at, is it Reagan Airport?
Mm-hmm.
Reagan Airport in D.C. yesterday, Thursday, January 30th. All the content he uploaded that day was Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that. Trump is politicizing all of this. but I reviewed all his content that day. And that day he posted a lot of content in regards to it, but it was all towards Trump. And I'm thinking, you're giving Trump such a hard time for politicizing this, but then you're feeding into it again. Mind you, this is a young man. He's 23. He's 23. He's a smart guy, but he has a big platform. And he has a big audience. And as we've seen from the first White House press briefing, podcasts and influencers, etc., are potentially going to have a seat now in the room, which is huge. It's huge. It's exciting for us at the EP podcast. It's exciting for people in independent media. But that's all I saw from this guy. So I couldn't help but comment to him. And I'm surprised his audience hasn't attacked me, because I went into this thinking that I was going to get attacked. This is what I said.
You got 2 likes?
Yeah, likes, not hate. Like, I was expecting a ton of hate here, right? Because you just looked up.
Well, can you click for hate or no? That's not how this works.
No. Maybe Zuckerberg can pull that in there, that feature somewhere in there of a like and then hate.
I believe there was at some point.
At some point, wasn't there a thumb down feature on
Facebook?
Facebook?
I believe that's
that's just let people thumb down.
It's too negative.
I'm cool with that. YouTube did the same thing. Before YouTube, you used to be able to see how many people thumbs up and how many people thumbs down, and then YouTube got. We love YouTube, by the way. We love YouTube. But then YouTube thought, the saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Not that it feeds you, but maybe a drink or two. And, they stopped showing the unlike count. The people that did dislike count, I mean. But maybe a feature. Huh?
Now also Instagram, you can hide likes.
Oh, yeah. Now on Instagram, you can also hide likes. The end of the day, they're useless features, right? But when it comes to building an online presence in a business, it's relevant. But is this focus on the screen? Okay, cool. So here Harry says, here I say to Harry, I just watched all of your Instagram content from Thursday 1:30, right? January 30th, about this tragic event. I notice your focus has been entirely on Trump's reaction, yet you're also criticizing him for politicizing it, which, by the way, he has all the right to do, right? But you can't come at somebody for doing something and then you go ahead and do it again. So I go and say 67 people have died. With your platform and influence, don't you think it's more impactful to first lead with empathy for the lives lost rather than pointing fingers? Otherwise, aren't you just feeding the same cycle you're against? So, this is part of the problem, because the new generation is coming into something that you would typically see adults well established into their careers and everything, which in theory means that you have more emotionally driven arguments rather than factually driven arguments. You could argue mature versus immature. But this is part of the problem, in my opinion. And it comes from both sides, as I've seen it on both sides, right? It takes two to tango. But this is a problem. Don't slide in my DMs and call me a freaking Latino for Trump, buddy. It's like, I've been doing my homework. I've been doing my best.
Did he?
Huh?
Did he specifically?
No,
Okay.
not him. But I've had several people at this point. But you know what? There was also the Selena Gomez video, right? I don't even want to get into that, but I'm not even going to get into that. But there was a Selena Gomez video. She came up crying, talking about my people, just to then delete it a few hours later. But, that's my frustration, Arthur. It's people are just going into social media, causing havoc. Is that the word, havoc?
Mm-hmm.
Havoc, just chaos between our relationships, chaos between our long life relationships. And that's where my biggest problems have. Matter of fact, one of my friends just texted me, right? One of my friends just texted me saying that, by the way, I may or may, what, I'm not even going to bring that up. I probably shouldn't. But I know people that are personally affected by this, right? But there's a line we got to draw of, hey, did you have the opportunity to, straighten this out? And if you did, why didn't you? We don't prepare, and this goes back to the insurance question. We don't prepare for something that we know is going to happen we cover ourselves for something that may or may not happen down the road. But when it happens, boy, are we glad we have it or that we're prepared for it. So, again, guys, Arthur, did you want to close out anything for us?
Just we missed on the immigration point. So since we were focusing on immigration,
Yeah.
the whole financial impact of a movement like this,
Yeah.
with 11 million undocumented workers,
Mhm.
they actually contribute close to $100 billion a year in their employment taxes.
Mhm.
So there's going to be a ripple effect. So you're
Yeah.
about to pull out. If you deport 11 million people overnight,
Yeah, how do we
what's
replace that income?
what's
Yeah.
that going to do to the income? What's that
Yeah.
going to do to other things as well? Because
Yeah.
that means that's housing that is now open up that they were paying for. That's food that's
Yeah.
no longer being
Yeah.
consumed. So that's going to go
Yeah.
negatively affect
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. You know, the thing with Trump, and there's just so much, like I haven't had the time to, I've been focusing on immigration recently, but what I've been gathering is that essentially Trump's way of making America richer is by, quote unquote, is by cutting, which is almost, you can bring it down to a personal level,
Mhm.
by cutting our expenses drastically, and then tariffs. Tariffs this, tariffs that. I saw something where now he imposed a 25%, I think it was 25% tariff on Canada. I don't know on what specifically. I don't know if it was all goods traded or whatever the case
sounds
is.
like it's on everything and supposed to be effective tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I believe
I think it was Canada and something else. I forget what the hell it
There's
was.
a couple of countries it's going to hit with
And
tariffs.
then the other one was BRICS, right? BRICS is what? Brazil, Russia. Here, look this up real quick. What are the countries that make up BRICS? This could be your closing thought. BRICS countries. You list. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So BRICS is made up by Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt. Damn, that's a long one. Okay. So I think BRICS. So they left it to essentially all the way up to South Africa, the acronym. So Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and China. So they've been trying to stray away from the U.S. dollar being the currency of the world, right? I think is that the way
world
to do it?
currency.
So Trump also had threatened to do 100% tariffs if they choose that route. So I don't know what the hell that looks like. This is when the accountants come into play. This is when the economics specialists come into play. Like, this is when all that kind of stuff comes into play.
But that just means that it increases the price that we, as the American consumer, pays.
That is an argument that has come up. Yeah, that is an argument that has come up.
That's what a tariff is.
Yeah.
So, want to go back to when tariffs were first coming around? It had to be back when with a transistor radio. Americans were making a transistor radio.
Mm-hmm.
Then we were able. Japan was making a transistor radio, less expensive than we were, and shipped it to the United States. So when you went to the store and you could buy yourself a transistor radio at the price for the Americans, or you could buy one from Japan at 75% the price of the United States one, which one do you go for? They found that people were buying Japanese transistor radios. So how did we fix that? We put a tariff on it, which meant that yes, they could still produce it at the low price, but they had to pay the government money. Yeah. And by doing that, it raised the price of it. Yeah. So then the prices got to be the same. So now is it Japan or America you buy? The prices are the same. Right. People started to buy American more.
The market always decides at the end of the day.
But that's when you put a tariff is putting a barrier on the product to, and that's paid for by the consumer.
Yeah. Yeah. So Arthur, we've covered a lot in this episode. I think it's been a good one. I think we got a lot of things addressed. I know I did. I feel like I got some weight off my chest. So
until you read your comments again.
Until I read my comments again on this episode, and then we're back in square one, and I'm calling an emergency recording the next day. But
that does mean that you read your comments and you're taking to what people say to heart.
Of course. Of course, that does.
So you are getting his attention when you do make comments.
Yes. While I may not respond to all of them because we get so many, I do try to get back to as many as I can. Sometimes I purposely don't reply to them because I love it when the community just has the discourse with one another. So it's great to read and see what goes on there. But thank you as always for consuming the content. My fight is not with you guys. My fight is with the media because I think the media's ultimate job is to divide, not unite, at least in today's world. So I'm not your enemy. I'm your friend. I want us all to, do well in life and succeed in whatever way that means to us. Um, so the media, after media, if you want, look, and the White House press secretary, she announced that, you know, independent media is welcome into the White House, and there's a whole application process, and potentially for podcasts, influencers, etc. And the requirements are very low. So I hope that they have a good vetting process. Hopefully, we get the opportunity to go there one day, be sitting in the briefing room. If you want to see us there, please give us a thumbs up, give us a comment. I don't know, right? Send EP podcast to the White House or something like that. But until then, screw the mainstream media. Screw the mainstream media because they divide, they don't unite. And if you feel the same way, you may or may have not noticed this hat that's sitting to my right here. I know it looks like a MAGA hat, but I promise you it's not a MAGA hat, right? This is a Make Media Great hat. Make Media Great Again hat, right? Because my bone to pick is with media, not with us, not with you guys, right? So if you believe what I believe, that the media's job is to divide and not unite, and that you believe that we are better together versus divided, then cop yourself a hat. The hat itself is Make Media Great Again, America, because it represents us all, and then EP Podcast on the back so people know that you watch the EP Podcast. These will be available as soon as possible, if not at the release of this episode, very shortly after, but I couldn't think of a better time to announce it. I got these made back in November. Until then, like, comment, subscribe. Arthur, thank you so much for
Thank you.
being a part of this episode. It's always a pleasure. It's always nice when we're not ripping our heads off over politics and we can come together. But until then, share with your friends, hit that notification bell, and until next time.